Let me tell you something most people will never admit to you. The reason people don't take you seriously is not because you're weak, not because you lack talent, not because you're behind in life. It's because they can read you. They can see the desperation in your eyes when you want them to like you. They can feel that you're scared of conflict. They can sense that you're constantly scanning for approval. And once they see that, the game is over. Weakness doesn't always look like falling apart. Most of the time, it looks like being emotionally transparent. You show your hunger for validation, and the moment people see that, they know exactly where to push. The world doesn't respond to effort. It doesn't reward good intentions. It doesn't bend for emotion. The world responds to power. And real power is not loud. It doesn't grovel. It doesn't rush to explain itself. Real power is quiet, composed, calculated, final. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. They left your message unread. They talked over you when you were speaking. They made a joke at your expense, and everyone laughed. Why did they feel comfortable doing that? Because something about your presence told them there will be no consequences. You don't earn respect by being nice. You earn respect when people feel deep down that they cannot move you, cannot break you, and most importantly, cannot predict you. When your very presence makes them pause before stepping out of line, that's when power begins. This video is not about motivation. It's not about positive vibes. This is Machiavellian psychology, the raw, cold science of presence, dominance, and untouchability. Watch to the end, because the last principle doesn't just change how people see you, it changes how you see yourself. First, I want you to write this in the comments as your starting point. I am unshakable. 1. The foundation of aura. Let me ask you something directly. When was the last time you stopped yourself mid-sentence because you weren't sure how people would react? You wanted to speak. You felt something was true. And then a thought appeared. What if they don't like it? What if I sound stupid? So, you pulled back. That tiny hesitation, that microsecond of self-doubt, that's where your power bleeds out. Power doesn't start in your body. It starts in your mind. When your inner state is calm and decided, everything about you shifts. Your voice becomes cleaner, sharper. Your words feel heavier, even if you're speaking softly. Your silence starts to feel loaded, not empty. Without understanding why, people begin adjusting to you instead of you constantly adjusting to them. Most people sabotage their own aura in complete silence. They walk into a room wondering, do I fit in here? They talk, then immediately scan faces for approval. They decide, then instantly look for reassurance. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Uncertainty is an invitation. When people sense you don't fully trust yourself, they don't just ignore you. They test you. They talk over you. They push your boundaries. They poke and prod just to see how far they can go. Not because they're evil, but because humans naturally follow conviction and discard confusion. He wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand." People don't follow your resume. They follow what they see in your eyes. And the eyes of the uncertain are restless. They dart around the room, checking reactions, begging for permission, hunting for some sign that they're doing okay. But the eyes of someone who is certain, they hold, they focus, they don't ask, they state. Here's the rule. Never display hesitation. Even when you're not 100% sure, you move as if your path is already chosen. Even when you don't have every detail, you carry yourself like you belong in the room. You. Speak less, but with intention. Move slower, with purpose. Stop second-guessing out loud. Stop fishing for reassurance like a child asking, "Was that okay?" This doesn't mean you pretend to know everything. It means when you choose, you own that choice. Fully. If it turns out to be wrong, you adjust later in private. You don't publicly crumble halfway through. Because people don't respect perfection, they respect solidity. The foundation of a ruthless aura is simple. You stop arguing with yourself. Once your internal debate ends, your external presence hardens. And when you stop doubting yourself, something interesting happens. Other people stop doubting you too. Right now, I want you to lock in this identity. Go to the comments and write, "I am certain," because until your certainty becomes non-negotiable, your aura will always be up for negotiation. 2. The mask of controlled power. Now we need to talk about something uncomfortable. Your face. Here's the brutal divide. Amateurs show everything. Masters show almost nothing. Most people broadcast their entire emotional state in real time. Anger, jealousy, excitement, insecurity, it all leaks out uncontrollably. And the moment people can read you, they can steer you. Every time you explode when someone hits a nerve, you're not standing up for yourself. You're handing them a map to your weak points. Next time, they won't guess where to jab. They'll know. This is why you must learn controlled expression, a steady tone, a relaxed, upright posture, a face that doesn't give cheap access to your internal world. Not because you're dead inside, you still feel everything. You just stop giving everyone a front row seat. People respect mystery more than confession. They trust calmness more than emotional honesty. When they can't quite figure you out, they automatically rank you as more intelligent, more experienced, and more dangerous than you may actually be. Machiavelli said it clearly. You don't need to say everything you think. Your thoughts, your fears, your plans, they are assets, not public property. When others can't read you, they become afraid of misjudging you. That fear becomes your invisible armor. Someone insults you in a meeting? Most people either laugh along nervously or lash out. You do neither. You pause. You look at them calm, almost bored. Maybe you give a slight nod to show you heard it. Then you continue exactly as before. No comeback, no overreaction, no visible wound. Now they don't know if you didn't care, if you're planning something, or if you simply decided they weren't worth the energy. That tiny uncertainty, that's power. From this point on, your goal is simple. Stop oversharing. Stop over-explaining. Stop giving people the script to your mind. You are no longer a transparent book. You are a mirror. They project, you watch, and you move accordingly. Drop this in the comments to seal it. I am unreadable. Let's clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about power. You don't need to be aggressive to be feared. You don't need to yell. You don't need to threaten anyone. You don't need to puff up your chest like some insecure wannabe tyrant. Real fear is quiet. Real fear comes from the sense that crossing you would be a mistake that can't be undone. Most people think power means reacting louder, hitting harder, or proving a point. But loud people are predictable. Emotional people are easy to manipulate. When someone is shouting in your face, you already know they're not in control. But when someone goes still cold calm, your brain can't calculate what comes next. That's where fear begins. This is the Machiavellian advantage. You don't create fear with aggression. You create fear with absence of reaction. Your silence is unsettling. Your calmness is confusing. Your lack of visible emotion is a warning all on its own. Think about the difference. Someone screams at you. You think they're emotional. Someone goes quiet, still, unreadable. You think, What are they planning? See the difference? One is noise. One is danger. Machiavelli famously said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And this isn't about cruelty. It's about precision. It's about carrying yourself in a way that forces people to choose their words around you carefully. Not because you're violent, not because you're unstable, but because you're not someone who reacts emotionally or gets pushed around. Let me give you one of the simplest but most powerful techniques you can use in real life. Someone makes a disrespectful joke about you in public. Everyone's watching for your reaction. Here's what weak people do. Laugh along awkwardly, trying to seem unfazed. Or react defensively and start arguing. Here's what power looks like. You let the room finish laughing. You turn your head slowly. You look directly at the person, not angry, not smiling, just present. You hold their gaze for a second longer than normal. Then you look away and move on with the conversation. No explanation, no response, no emotional leak. What did you just do? You mark the moment. You acknowledge the shot. You refuse to play the game. Everyone watching instantly understands one thing. You don't let disrespect slide, but you also don't perform for an audience. That level of control is rare, and rare things are feared. From now on, every time someone tries to provoke you, remember this rule. React less, not more. Get colder, not louder. Become quieter, not weaker. Let others adjust to the shift in temperature. Write this in the comments to anchor it. My silence is power. 4. The art of emotional detachment. Here's one of the hardest truths you must swallow if you want a ruthless aura. The more emotionally involved you are, the weaker you become. Nothing drains a person faster than emotional dependence. Nothing blinds you more than emotional attachment to outcomes. Nothing weakens your presence faster than needing things to go a certain way. When your emotions dictate your behavior, you're not in control. You're being controlled. Most people live like emotional weather vanes. If someone praises them, they feel unstoppable. If someone criticizes them, they collapse internally. If something goes wrong, their whole mood shifts. If something goes right, they act like kings. That's not power. That's volatility. And volatile people are always slaves to circumstance. Power begins the moment your emotional state stops being tied to external events. When insults don't shake you. When compliments don't inflate you. When uncertainty doesn't rattle you. When loss doesn't break you. Then, and only then, do you become untouchable. Machiavelli said, "A wise man does at once what a fool does at last." Meaning, the fool eventually calms down and returns to reason, but only after emotions die. The wise man stays rational from the beginning. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you're numb. It means you're selective. It means you feel, but you don't let feelings drive your response. Here's how you build this skill in real life. Start with micro-detachments. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You feel that spark of irritation, but instead of feeding it, you let it dissolve. Someone doesn't text you back. You feel that anxiety rising. You don't chase closure. You let it be. Someone achieves something you wanted. You feel the envy, but you don't act on it. You release it. What you're doing is training your brain to observe emotions without becoming them. You're creating distance. You're keeping your internal world clean. You're becoming the calmest person in the room, which automatically makes you the most powerful. Because while everyone else is drowning in their impulses, you're thinking clearly. You're positioning strategically. You're acting deliberately. That's the edge nobody can compete with. Drop this in the comments. I am emotionally free. 5. The science of psychological leverage. Now we go deeper into the level of power most people never reach because they're too busy talking. Psychological leverage is not about force. It's not about dominance displays or commanding obedience. It's about shaping the mental environment in which others interact with you. It's about becoming a presence people instinctively avoid challenging. And you achieve this through one skill: observation. Most people don't observe. They perform. They wait for their turn to speak. They rush to share their opinion. They interrupt. They talk to be heard. But you study. You watch the room. You listen to tone shifts. You notice micro-expressions. You pick up on insecurities. You observe what people emphasize and what they avoid. You gather data, not to please people, not to flatter them, but to position yourself correctly. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does not expose himself to danger without reason. That includes emotional danger, social danger, reputational danger. You don't reveal your plans. You don't open up your vulnerabilities. You don't speak your strategy mid-game. You speak last. You reveal last. You act after everyone else has exposed their cards." This is psychological warfare. Here's an example. You're negotiating something important. Most people talk too much, trying to convince the other side. You don't. You ask questions. You let them talk. You watch what they reveal, even unintentionally. Then when you finally speak, you aim directly at the weak points they exposed without realizing it. You're not guessing. You're not hoping. You're targeting with precision. And that's the difference between influence and force. People think they're making their own decisions, but in reality, you've shaped the frame within which they decide. That's real power. Write this affirmation in the comments. I see everything. If you take only one lesson from this entire video, let it be this. Every time you tolerate disrespect, your aura weakens. Not dramatically, not instantly, but piece by piece. Every time you make an excuse for someone who mistreats you, every time you let things slide to keep the peace, every time you argue or explain why you deserve basic respect, you are training people to view you as negotiable. And negotiable people never project power. Negotiable people get stepped on. Negotiable people lose influence before they even realize what happened. Powerful people protect their space like territory. They don't apologize for it. They don't defend it. They don't debate it. When something violates their peace, even slightly, they end it decisively. No drama. No emotional monologue, no over-explaining, just action. That's what Machiavellian boundaries look like. Let me give you a simple example. Someone cancels on you twice in a row. Most people keep giving chances, keep hoping for better treatment, keep trying to communicate. Not you. After the second time, you stop initiating. No confrontation. No resentment. No speech about how you feel. Just silence. If they notice, they notice. If they ask, you give a short, calm truth. I don't chase people anymore. That one sentence tells them everything they need to know. It tells them your time is valuable. It tells them access to you is not guaranteed. It tells them you're not begging for connection. That is power. Machiavelli wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." And command starts with commanding yourself, commanding your space, commanding your standards, commanding the level of behavior you will and won't accept. Boundaries are not arrogance. They are self-respect made visible. They are the silent signal that says, "I value my peace more than your approval." If someone repeatedly disrespects you, your job is not to fix them. Your job is not to explain your worth. Your job is to remove yourself, not temporarily, not conditionally, fully, and watch what happens. Some people will rise to the standard. Some will get angry. Some will disappear. All three outcomes are wins. Because you are not here to be liked. You are here to be respected. and respect begins with enforcing what you tolerate. Drop this affirmation in the comments to anchor it. I am non-negotiable. 7. The power of strategic withdrawal. Now we enter one of the coldest, most effective psychological tactics in existence. Disappear. Not dramatically, not emotionally, not with announcements or explanations. You simply pull back your attention, your effort, your presence, and you let people feel the void. Most people respond to disrespect by trying harder. They argue. They defend themselves. They try to prove their worth. That is the biggest mistake you can make. When someone shows you they don't value you, the correct response is not confrontation. It is absence. Absence is more powerful than anger, more powerful than lectures, more powerful than trying to show someone how much you care. Absence forces people to face the truth. They took you for granted. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be both." Meaning, you must be wise enough to recognize when someone is wasting your time, and strong enough to walk away without hesitation. Let me give you a real-world example. Someone constantly cancels plans. Most people ask, "Why?" Or, "Did I do something wrong?" You don't. You stop making plans completely. They text you expecting your usual quick reply. You answer hours later, calmly and briefly. They invite you somewhere you're suddenly busy. They call you, let it ring out, and return it when convenient. Not to punish, not to get revenge, but to rebalance the power dynamic silently. What happens? They start wondering. They start feeling uncertain. They start reaching out more. They start trying harder. Because now they feel the loss of the attention they took for granted. This works everywhere. At work, stop overgiving. Do your job, not everyone else's. They'll feel the gap you used to fill. In friendships, stop chasing. Let them reach out. If they don't, they were never friends. In relationships, stop being the emotional cushion. Let your absence expose their behavior. Here's the key. You cannot withdraw and then run back the moment they chase you. That ruins everything. When you pull back, you hold your position. If they return with real effort, you take your time before deciding. If they don't return at all, good. They were dead weight. One act of strategic withdrawal teaches more than 1,000 words ever could. Because words are cheap, absence is expensive. Write this in the comments to internalize it. My absence teaches. 8. The crown of untouchability. This is where everything comes together. When you combine certainty, silence, boundaries, emotional detachment, strategic withdrawal, controlled expression, you rise above normal human behavior. You stop chasing approval. You stop explaining. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop needing to be understood. You become untouchable. People will feel it before they understand it. Your presence becomes heavier. Your words become fewer but sharper. Your silence becomes something people adjust to. Even your stillness becomes a form of dominance. Think about the people you've met who had this quality. They didn't need to brag. They didn't need to argue. They didn't need to prove anything. They radiated an energy that made everyone around them more careful. That can be you. But it requires discipline. It requires walking through discomfort without flinching. It requires losing without falling apart. It requires being insulted without reacting. It requires being alone without feeling lonely. Machiavelli wrote, "Fortune favors the bold." Boldness isn't recklessness. It's inner solidity. When you reach this level, strange things happen. People who ignored you will start listening. People who mocked you will lower their tone. People who overlooked you will seek your presence. People who tested you will think twice, because you no longer need their validation. And that makes you the most powerful person in the room. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable. Your aura is being built right now. With every choice you make, every boundary you enforce, every moment you choose silence over reaction. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming stronger. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming valuable. You are not becoming ruthless. You are becoming respected. The world follows strength, not fairness. It respects certainty, not doubt. It bows to self-command, not people-pleasing. Stay calm. Stay sharp. Stay above emotion. Your aura is rising. Let's go even deeper into the psychology that makes certain people instantly influential without trying. This is the level most people never reach because they're addicted to being seen, being heard, being validated. But real power works in reverse. The less you reveal, the more others reveal themselves. The less you speak, the more others speak for you. The less you try to influence, the more influence you naturally gain. This is the silent art of social control. Most people walk into social situations hungry for attention, approval, recognition, belonging. And hunger is loud. Even if you never say a word, people can feel it. They can sense when you need something from them, and the moment they sense it, they mentally place themselves above you. The cure? Become the one who observes rather than the one who performs. When you stop chasing reactions, your energy shifts. You become the person who speaks last, not first. The one who watches while others try to impress. The one who listens while others compete. And suddenly, without forcing anything, you become the center of gravity in the room. Here's the Machiavellian truth. People respect what they don't fully understand. The second they feel they've figured you out, they stop valuing you. But when you maintain a subtle layer of mystery, when your emotions, motives, and intentions remain unreadable, you gain psychological weight. This doesn't mean you act weird or aloof. It means you stop offering free access to your inner world. You stop filling silence. You stop oversharing. You allow people to wonder. Let them project. Let them guess. Let them chase clarity that you never fully give. This is how political leaders, CEOs, and powerful personalities maintain dominance. They reveal only what benefits them. They answer only when necessary. They speak with purpose, not impulse. When you do this, 3 things happen. 1. People overinterpret everything you do. Your silence becomes meaningful. Your words become heavier. Your reactions, because they are rare, carry impact. 2. You create tension, which creates respect. Humans fear the unknown. An unreadable person is automatically evaluated as higher status, more competent, and more dangerous. 3. You influence people without issuing commands. Because they don't know what you're thinking, they play it safe. They self-correct. They avoid offending you. They keep the peace out of caution, not kindness. This is how you control a room without raising your voice. This is how you gain influence without asking for it. This is how your aura becomes untouchable. Let me give you a practical example. You're in a group conversation. Everyone is talking, interrupting, performing, but you stay composed, still, calm, listening. When you finally speak, you choose your words with precision. Suddenly, the entire group shifts. They lean in, they focus, they register your presence more intensely than anyone else's. Why? Because you didn't dilute your value by speaking constantly. You waited until your contribution carried impact. Or consider this. Someone asks you a personal question. Instead of offering your life story, you give a calm, minimal answer. They wait for more, expecting you to continue. You don't. You leave space. Silence. Ambiguity. Now they're thinking about you longer than you ever thought about them. This is presence. This is leverage. This is the silent form of dominance Machiavelli understood deeply. You don't rise in power by becoming louder. You rise by becoming harder to decode. Everything we've discussed, certainty, emotional detachment, boundaries, strategic withdrawal, leads to one final stage of power, your internal transformation. This is the shift that turns all the tactics into a natural aura, something you don't perform but radiate effortlessly. Most people live from the outside in. Their identity changes depending on how others treat them. When they're praised, they feel strong. When they're criticized, they crumble. When someone gives them attention, they feel valuable. When someone withdraws, they feel worthless. This is why their aura is inconsistent, why they can't hold respect, why they break easily. You are going to live from the inside out. Your power will come from who you decide to be, not from the reactions you receive. 1. You create a non-negotiable identity. Powerful people don't ask, "How should I act?" They tell themselves, "This is who I am," and everything else adjusts. Your new identity is not flexible. It is not up for debate. It is not shaped by other people's approval. It sounds like this: I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't justify my choices. I don't chase anyone. I don't over-explain. I don't lose myself for anyone. Identity becomes your shield. Identity becomes your consistency. Identity becomes your aura. Once you define yourself, your energy stabilizes. You stop bending. You stop seeking. You stop leaking power. 2. You control your emotional world completely. When your emotions depend on other people, they own you. When your emotions depend on you, you own yourself. This doesn't mean you shut down. It means you don't let external chaos decide your internal state. Someone praises you, you stay centered. Someone insults you, you stay centered. Someone pulls away, you stay centered. You become a calm, contained force. People don't know how to handle someone they cannot manipulate emotionally. That's why emotional control is silent dominance. 3. You become fully comfortable alone. Solitude is where your aura sharpens. Most people fear being alone because their self-worth is borrowed from others. But when you enjoy your own presence, your energy becomes sovereign. Your decisions become independent. Your boundaries become stronger. People gravitate toward independence because it's rare, and what's rare becomes valuable. 4. You move without permission. Weak people wait for signs, validation, or approval. They wait to feel confident before acting. Powerful people decide, then move. When you stop asking the world for permission, you look like someone who leads by nature. People instinctively treat you differently. They become more careful with their tone. They take your presence more seriously. This is how status is created not by force, but by certainty. 5. You respond strategically, not emotionally. The final transformation is simple. Weakness reacts. Power responds. You choose your behavior not based on impulse, but based on outcome. You play the long game while everyone else is trapped in the moment. This makes your presence heavier, your silence colder, your decisions more respected. You stop blending in emotionally. You start standing out psychologically. The final shift. At this level, something powerful happens. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear losing people. You no longer react to disrespect. You no longer collapse under pressure. Your inner world becomes unshakable, and the outside world adjusts to you. This is the aura people feel before you even speak. This is the presence that commands attention without demanding it. This is the transformation that makes you untouchable. And from today onward, that is who you are becoming.